Hello, Richard here from the SoDak Motorcycle Blog, and I'm joining you today with another episode of My Favorite Rides. So today I'm taking you on the road and heading down to Colorado to show you my favorite ride in not only Colorado, but probably the best ride that I have ever been on. And this is, of course, the $1 Million Highway. So the video begins in Ridgeway, Colorado, and follows US Highway 550 to a stop in Silverton for breakfast, and then on to Cascade Village, which is north of Durango. And this whole area obviously run between Montrose and Durango. You'll notice as I'm leaving Ridgeway that the mountains give a great preview of what's ahead. And even though this was shot on the 5th of July, Colorado had a very wet and snowy winter and spring. So you'll notice there is quite a bit of snow left on the San Juans. So the first town you come to, if you're coming from the north in Montrose, once you get past Ridgeway, is of course Ouray. And you can see that this is about probably the perfect movie setting if you're looking for a mountain town. You notice here at the end of the town that this is where the fun finally begins. And you get a great view of the town on the way up, and especially if you're coming up from the south, the view is a lot better. But you will notice here that also you get a good view when you're coming up from the north. And here's one more really cool view of Ouray you'll notice on my left. And here's probably the coolest view of Ouray you'll see, especially if you just sit down and just ride. And this one is on my right. And you notice that the mountains do a really good job of framing the whole town. The stretch between Ouray and Red Mountain Pass is probably the most scenic and also the most challenging part of the road. You notice that there is a lot of sheer drop-offs. This is one of those places where it's probably tempting to take a look and see like, oh, how far down it is, but I would suggest you probably don't want to do that. I think target fixation could get you here if you're not paying attention. So as far as safety goes, you definitely need to be careful on this road. It's definitely not a place to ride like your Valentino Rossi qualifying on the MotoGP circuit. This is definitely a take it nice and slow and really try to enjoy the road. And also, the traffic is probably not going to allow you to go super fast anyway, especially if you're looking at midday, not early in the morning or early season. I always do recommend getting up early and riding roads like this, or else going there late in the riding season. The one issue with that, obviously, is once you get late in riding season, being the elevation this place is, you can tend to run into a snowstorm, which is always fun on a bike. And speaking of the weather, it can and will change fast around here, so I definitely would be prepared for almost anything, especially in the afternoon, as you tend to get to deal with a surprise storm, and they are kind of common. Also, if you are a beginning rider, I can definitely understand how this road can be intimidating. But the biggest thing, as long as you remember your training, take it easy, ride safe, ride your road, pay attention to what's going on around you, you will be just fine. You'll notice on my right that it does look like there is one heck of a drop off, and I can assure you it looks a whole lot worse in person. But this is such a cool road. Roads like this are the reason why I think riding a motorcycle is awesome. You get just so much of a better interaction with the environment than you ever would in a car. So now that the highway is leveled out a little bit, I'm going to tell you a little bit more about the road. The $1 Million Highway started as a toll road that was built by Otto Mears to connect Ouray and Ironton in the 1800s. Later on, another road was built over Red Mountain Pass to Silverton. In the early 1920s, the road was completely rebuilt, and it was completed in 1924, which is the modern basis for the $1 Million Highway. Now, this road is truly one of the great roads in America. I love this road so much, and honestly, the worst part of this road is the fact that it eventually does end. This is the second chance that I had to ride this road, so I made sure to try to absolutely cherish it as much as I can. But like I said, it's always bittersweet when it comes to the end, because it's such a great road and great fun road to be on. But like I said, it's sad when you come to the end and you gotta head home. So if you do ever get a chance to ride this road, I would say go out your way to make sure to do it. Like, even if you're within a couple hundred miles, I would definitely make sure to work this part of the road into your plans, because you're definitely not going to regret it. Before we get to Red Mountain Pass, you'll come across the Idaho mine, which is on the left. Now, this mine actually ceased operations in 1979, and it ran a little bit off and on during the 1900s. It ran a little bit during World War II, and you'll notice that the mine is once again on my left, and then you'll see the remains of the old Ironton town site on my right. So coming up here on Red Mountain Pass, you'll notice first of all there's still a decent amount of snow on the ground. Just another reminder of the fact that I'm actually at 11,018 feet at this point, and also the fact that it was a pretty wet and a pretty cold spring in Colorado. Of the three mountain passes, Red Mountain Pass is probably the most treacherous to get around, and this is the one that usually gets closed in the wintertime, just because of the fact it's so treacherous through pretty much this whole stretch. As you're coming in from the north, eventually you're going to come across Silverton, which you'll notice if you're coming from the north is on the left. Now Silverton is a former silver mining camp, and it's also a National Historic Landmark. And even on the hottest summer days, it can stay fairly mild here in Silverton at 9,318 feet. Now on this day it was fairly chilly as I arrived in town about 9 in the morning, and I think about this time it was probably about 52, 53 degrees, so it was definitely a chilly morning. But you notice as I go down my Main Street, this is another quaint little mountain town, and I guess if you're looking for another setting for a movie for a mountain town, this would also work. After breakfast at the Brown Bear Cafe, I continued to the south. Now breakfast was nothing to write home about, but let's be honest, it was less than $20. It filled me up, so I considered it a win considering that I was in a place like Silverton, which tends to be kind of a tourist trap. Another thing, when I was having breakfast, the nice sunny day that I started with kind of became cloudy, and at points it looked like rain was going to come at any moment. The other thing you'll notice is that there is definitely an increase of traffic, and with the traffic increases like this and traffic when you got to deal with it, this is part of the reason why I like to get going earlier in the day, because if this was later in the day, I would have dealt with this the whole time. The second of the three passes you'll encounter is Molas Pass. And at 10,912 feet, It is quite a high pass, but it doesn't have near the amount of switchbacks that it does as you're going up Red Mountain Pass. So this part of the road is usually kept open during the winter. If you're coming from the north, the last pass that you're going to encounter is Coal Bank Pass. From here you'll notice the drop off is quite quick, and on this day it went from chilly up here to warm in quite a hurry. By the time I got to Durango, I was definitely ready to lose a few layers. Once again, I'd like to thank you for taking time and watching this video today. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did like it, make sure you leave a comment. If you didn't like it, make sure you leave a comment as well. We'll see you next time on My Favorite Rides. And always remember, keep the rubber side down and enjoy the ride.